positive, safe, and expansive relative to community safety. So Chief Luna, come on.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Very nice to see each and every one of you, and thanks for coming out. Civic engagement's what it's all about. We want change. You got to come out and make it. You got to do it yourself, right? So my name's Robert Luna. I was the chief of police here in Long Beach for the last 7 years. I actually lived out my dream, and the city of Long Beach allowed me to do that. I wanted to be a police officer from the early age of 5 years old. I grew up in East Los Angeles. My parents, I was the oldest of 3 kids. My father migrated here from Sinaloa, Mexico. My mother was born in Modesto in farm country, but only because her family was doing farming. They were from Michoacan, Mexico. And so then I came along. I didn't learn English until I went to grade school, and I ended up translating for my parents. And I witnessed a lot of social inequity growing up. And not only between community and police, but really healthcare. I remember having to ride the bus with my mother up to USC General Hospital to sit there 6 hours and wait for healthcare. I can also tell you firsthand that government cheese and peanut butter, I miss it. It's some of the best tasting grub I've had, and I haven't had it in years. But it inspired me. Instead of getting angry, it really inspired me to be a police officer, and it really grounded me in what I call relationship-based policing. Because just like children, we have many of them here, look at us as adults, and they look at us to lead. I was the one looking at deputies, because I grew up in an unincorporated area of East LA that the sheriffs patrolled, and I saw that uniform, and instead of hating them like everyone else around me did, I actually wanted to be one. It was very difficult because my family didn't like the police, my neighbors didn't like the police, but I just kept on track, and several years later, long story, I end up at the Long Beach Police Department where I worked for 36 years. I put my blood, sweat, and tears here. Very proud of the work that we did here. And just to give you a couple of numbers, when I was a police chief, over the 7 years, we reduced crime in Long Beach, violent crime, by 6.5% and reduced property crime by 10%. And right now, crime is going the wrong direction in the county of Los Angeles, really in all the big cities across the country. And it's something we have to pay attention to. But you'll hear me say over and over that if you look at my body of work in Long Beach, I'm not about looking at policing in the past. I'm not about looking at police work in the present, because we're still evolving. You have to look at me as a sheriff who wants to think of law enforcement in a 21st century perspective. That means it's forward thinking, it's thinking out of the box. Yes, if crime's going up, let's not go backwards and do the things that we failed at. Let's look at a completely different way of looking at data, working with academics, working with community in a way like we did here in Long Beach to make us very, very successful. Another issue along with policing is not, we talk about crime, but accountability is just as important. And for me, as the chief in Long Beach, the last 5 years, we transformed the department as it related to policy, training, and a culture of accountability. So much so that if you look at the numbers the last several years, under my leadership, we reduced officer-involved shootings by 50%. We reduced uses of force by 28%. And we reduced citizen complaints by 30%. That doesn't just happen. It happens with good leadership, paying attention to what's happening across the country. And as the sheriff, that's exactly what I need to do in the county. Because right now, we have a leader that's doing a very good job. Chris just talked about it. I don't want to spend minutes talking about him, but please know that as your sheriff, I am a person of absolute integrity, because this profession means the world to me because it gave so much back to me. Number 2, I have the experience. I'm looking at the candidates that are running. I'm the only candidate that actually has been a municipal police chief for as many years as I have in the second largest city in LA County. No other candidate can say that. I also have I was elected and re-elected to the Major City Chiefs Association on their executive board as a Western Region representative. That means I was responsible for 9 states and 20 cities where I sat at the table with Congress, with the FBI director, with the Homeland Security Secretary, and people like that to develop policies, whether it dealt with legislation with policing, police reform, dealing with homelessness, and dealing with crime. Learning from good examples and absolutely learning from very bad examples. And then I'll leave you with this. A vote for me means that the Sheriff's Department will completely change where they've been and where they are now. I am the only outside candidate that's running in this race. That means that I've never worked in the Sheriff's Department. I don't work there now. So when you hear the other candidates talking about what they're going to do, they always go back to it's got to go back to the way it was to make it work. No, we don't. Policing has evolved. It needs to change. We need to think about it in a completely different way. So I hope that I earn everyone's support here. I'm very grateful that I have been endorsed by Yes We Can from Long Beach. Very, very proud of that. And I'm going to be around. I know there's other speakers, very important speakers. I'll be around if you have any concerns or questions about anything I talked about or something about policing. I'm here. So thank you very much for the opportunity. Chris, I love you to death. Thank you for all your support.
Ditto. Thank you. Okay, folks, we're in a new era of lines.